With its relatively small countries and open borders, international travel is a regular part of life for millions of people living in Europe. For over a century, international rail travel has been a part of that. In recent years, as more citizens become concerned about airplane emissions, international trains have re-emerged as a sustainable alternative for business and leisure travel. While progress is still slowed down somewhat by bureaucracy and technical incompatibilities, with all the new services and expansions planned, it's safe to say that we are living in an exciting era. One country in particular that has been the source of a lot of news over the course of 2023 is the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, both existing railway companies and new ones have published their ambitions to provide new international connections. If even a few of these plans come to fruition, the Dutch rail scene will look vastly different from how it does now. So what are these plans, and why were so many of them announced in 2023? Find out in today's video. The Netherlands is a small country located in the northwest of Europe. It is home to 17.5 million people, including some of these famous people that you might recognize. The Netherlands are internationally known for their dense railway network. It's described by many people as one of the best in the world, though you wouldn't know it if you spoke to the average Dutch person. The main passenger train operator in the Netherlands is NS, short for Nederlandse Spoorwegen, Dutch Railways. NS is a private company whose shares are 100% owned by the state. The Dutch railway network is basically divided into two parts. All the most important lines grouped together are what the government considers the main network. Up until recently, international long-distance connections were also considered part of the mainline network. Then there are multiple regional lines who all fall under the responsibility of their own regional governments. NS runs on the main railway network, including international trains, while other companies compete for contracts to run on regional lines. European Union law states that railway contracts must be tendered competitively, meaning that the best candidate gets the rights to operate trains. The Dutch government has circumvented this and directly awarded NS a renewed contract for the exclusive rights to the mainline network. This contract would be for 10 years starting in 2025. It was met with some pushback from other companies who are all too eager to make the big bucks, but also from the EU. I've made a video about this going into more detail, so be sure to check that out if you're curious. After some back and forth, in true Dutch fashion, the government came forward with a compromise. NS would continue to have the exclusive rights to the main network until 2033, but all international trains, except for one, would be removed from the package. They would become open access services. In other words, any international trains that NS wants to run will receive no priority over the international trains that other companies want to run. In anticipation of this decision, 2023 saw a lot of companies jump to announce that they too were going to launch international train services from the Netherlands. It seemed like we were getting surprised on a monthly basis with new people announcing new plans. Though it's unlikely that every single plan comes to fruition, it's undeniable that by the end of the decade, international rail travel in the Netherlands will look quite different. The purpose of this video is to walk through all the different plans that have been announced. To do so, first we will take a look at all the existing international connections that are available now in January 2024. Then, we will look at those same companies and see what their future plans are, and finally, we will introduce some of the new players that have arrived on the scene and discuss their plans. Since NS has kind of been our main focus up until now, let's take a look at what they currently have to offer. NS runs a few of their own international trains, but most international services are done in partnership with national railway companies from other countries. These partnerships allow people to book a ticket to many international destinations on the NS International website, so long as they travel with one of those partnered companies. On the high-speed side of things, NS runs their Intercity direct services from Amsterdam to Brussels once an hour. I say high speed because the trains use a line that is built for speeds of up to 300 km per hour. However, the trains only run at 160 km per hour using old ICR coaches that are hauled by leased tracks locomotives. Then there's Eurostar, providing service that does run at speeds of up to 300 km per hour. Eurostar services mostly run to Paris and London. Previously, services to Paris were known as Thalys, In 2023, however, the companies of Thalys and Eurostar officially merged. The Thalys name was dropped, so now all trains are just called Eurostar. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get used to this. Let's shift our focus to Germany. In partnership with Germany's Deutsche Bahn, NS runs an Intercity Express train to Frankfurt 8 times a day, with one of those trips extending all the way to Basel, Switzerland. There's also an Intercity train to Berlin. Traditionally, it has been a slow service, but this past December it was sped up by half an hour when they got rid of a time-consuming locomotive swap at the border. Unfortunately, the food service car was taken out of service at the same time. For a few years, there were no overnight trains from the Netherlands, but in recent years, the Austrian railways have launched their nightjet brand, and there are currently several nightjet services that originate in Amsterdam and travel to destinations like Zurich in Switzerland or Vienna in Austria. Besides NS, European Sleeper runs a sleeper train between Brussels and Berlin, running through the Netherlands. This is known as an open access service. Rather than winning a contract to operate this train, European Sleeper runs it at their own financial risk. Similarly, a company known as Green City Trip runs seasonal sleeper trains to a variety of European destinations. Finally, there are multiple regional trains running from Dutch cities near the border into Germany and Belgium. These are operated either by the Belgian railways, the German railways, or private companies. Now, let's talk about improvements that are being planned with the operators we've already mentioned. NS will significantly speed up their Intercity Direct service to Brussels once the Intercity New Generation train sets enter service, hopefully by April of this year. These trains are built by Alstom and are already in service on domestic routes. They are capable of speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. What's more, the service will be rerouted. Currently, trains make a detour to stop at Breda and at Brussels Airport. The upgraded train will bypass these stations, and instead, Belgian operator NMBS will run their own intercity service between Brussels and Rotterdam, stopping at all those stations. This NMBS train will likely use Belgian I-11 cars. What this means is that there will basically be half-hourly train service between Brussels and Rotterdam. When it comes to Eurostar, however, I wouldn't hold my breath. They're not ordering any new trains, choosing to focus on making up pandemic-era financial losses. No new trains means no service expansion either. In fact, in the short term, we'll see a service reduction for Amsterdam to London services. Because of construction at Amsterdam Central Station, Eurostar cannot use their border facilities. So for 6 months, between June and December of 2024, there will be no London service in the Netherlands. NS has also ordered 12 Intercity New Generation train sets with the ability to operate in Germany, but I doubt we'll see any cross-border service with these before 2030. Where we will see a major upgrade is on the other trains to Germany. For the ICE to Frankfurt, the brand new ICE3 Neo trains will replace the current unreliable vehicles. The Intercity to Berlin will be majorly upgraded as well when the ICE-L trains enter service. These are brand new coaches built by Talgo, a Spanish company. With their introduction, food service will be restored. Hopefully, we will see both trains enter service later this year. But here's where things get really exciting. Starting in 2026, one trip per day will not go to Berlin, but to Copenhagen, using Danish Talgo train cars. I am super excited to see Danish trains in the Netherlands. This Copenhagen train will take 9.5 hours, and it is made possible because the Czech railways will be extending one of their daily trains between Prague and Berlin to Copenhagen. This frees up a Danish train set to run to the Netherlands. I have to say, a Czech train in Denmark sounds equally exciting. Moving on to European Sleeper, they will extend their service to Prague in the Czech Republic. This is scheduled to happen this March already. They also want to operate a sleeper train to Barcelona in Spain. Their target start date is 2025. I'm a little bit skeptical about this proposal because French track fees are very expensive, and the only standard gauge connection into Spain from France is on a high-speed line. But if they make it work, this would be a fantastic train for people wanting to vacation in Spain. While Green City Trip currently only runs night trains, they are hoping to enter the market of daytime trains. Under the brand name GoVolta, they want to send locomotive-hauled trains to Paris, Basel, and Berlin. Beginning in 2024, these trains will have second class, first class, and food service. They won't be very fast, however. It will take 8 hours to go from Amsterdam to Paris, for example, much slower than the 3 hours it currently takes by high-speed train. But I still think there will be some sort of market for these. They will likely be significantly cheaper than a high-speed train, and they will make more local stops, so not everybody has to travel to a big city first. In fact, when I look at the proposed schedule, there even seems to be a stop planned for the very minor station of Lage Zwaluwe. So, what rolling stock will they use? It's unknown for sure, but there were rumors of them buying old NS ICR coaches. We shall see. Now let's briefly take a look at the regional trains again. Arriva is hoping to finally extend their RE18 Aachen to Maastricht train to Liège in Belgium. This would make it a tri-national train, something that they were hoping to accomplish years ago, but for a long time, Belgian bureaucracy had gotten in the way of this. In 2026, the Bentheimer Eisenbahn will reach Qbuzz in the Netherlands. Currently, their RB56 train runs between the German towns of Bad Bentheim and Neuenhaus. Bentheimer Eisenbahn recently ordered extra Alstom-Lindt trains, and once the remaining freight tracks are renewed, these new trains will form an hourly service from Bad Bentheim across the border to Qbuzz in the Netherlands. The current regional train connecting Hamm and Dusseldorf in Germany with Venlo in the Netherlands is run by a company known as Keolis. In December 2026, the service will be taken over by a company called Start, and it will be extended to Eindhoven. Finally, the current regional trains between Münster in Germany and Enschede in the Netherlands will be extended to Zwolle, hopefully by 2030. In order to do this, Germany needs to complete the electrification on the line on the German side, and on the Dutch side, several sections need to be double-tracked. Now, for the final part of this video, I will be taking a look at the other companies that want to run international trains from the Netherlands. Remember, all the plans and projected dates I mentioned are just that. None of us can look into the future and know for certain what will or will not actually happen, or when it will happen. The purpose of this video is to summarize what all the plans are. First, there is Qbuzz, a subsidiary of Italian national operator Trenitalia. They want to run trains from Amsterdam to Paris, Frankfurt, and Berlin. I actually think that this is quite realistic because just this past November, Trenitalia ordered 30 extra ETR 1000 high-speed trains. These are already used as Frecciarossa high-speed trains in Italy, France, and Spain. The 30 sets that were just ordered will be modified so that they can run in the Netherlands. I personally cannot wait to see the sleek Frecciarossa running through the Netherlands. Arriva, by far the largest operator of regional trains in the Netherlands, announced last spring that they want to run a high-speed train between Groningen and Paris. Every day, once this train reaches Paris, it will return to Amsterdam, go back to Paris, and then finally up to Groningen again for the night. You might wonder, why Groningen? I think it's kind of a smart idea. Not that the market might be that large, but for people living in that part of the country, it is currently more difficult to take the train to Paris, because it requires you to go all the way to Amsterdam first. Somebody else saw this plan and thought, hey, we can do that too. Meet Heuro, a combination of the words high speed and Euro. This is a startup owned by two entrepreneurial brothers in Amsterdam. They seemingly came out of nowhere in November of 2023, announcing that they too want to compete with NS and Eurostar on several international routes. Starting in 2027, they hope to run 15 trains between Amsterdam and London, as well as 16 between Amsterdam and Paris. 2 of these trains will be extended north to Groningen. Whether it happens or not, I admire the ambition. It's about time Eurostar sees a serious threat to their monopoly and their high prices. Finally, we need to talk about the infamous Flixtrain. By December of this year, they want to run a train which starts in Rotterdam, heads north to Amsterdam, and then turns east to reach Germany. The final destination in Germany is yet to be determined. This will add a budget option to international train travel headed east. I've never been on Flixtrain myself yet, but I've heard you get what you pay for. To be honest, regardless of which plans make it to fruition, I see these developments as an improvement. I am sometimes kind of dissatisfied with the way NS has been performing on its domestic network recently. It's already one of Europe's most expensive rail systems for passengers, and the frequent delays, scrapped services, and short trains, they definitely don't do their reputation any favors. There is currently a huge movement to travel more climate consciously in Europe, and trains are an integral part of our greener future. Having more options will be a good thing. We've seen it in places like Spain and Italy. More options for these long distances means more service, higher quality, and lower prices. There should be a train that matches everyone's needs. One thing I would implore all European rail operators to do is to pursue more ticketing integration. A tangled mess of fare structures and inflexible tariffs should not be what keeps people out of the train. If one train is cancelled, people should be able to take the next train regardless of who is operating that train. Do you want to make some money and offer rail service? Great, but please make sure that the trip from door to door is as convenient and stress-free as possible. I am excited to see what the Dutch rail scene will look like at the end of this decade. Whenever there is major news, I plan to create an updated version of this video. Please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.